Hermitage in Northern Virginia, a nonprofit organization, and we're reading this book as part of the activities for the residents and friends. Reading from the book one more time, just for the fun of it, Notes from Fair Acres by Effie Leland Wilder. It was copyrighted in 1999, and today we're starting out with chapter 9, Wind. November the 2nd, 2 nights ago on Halloween, one of the big Atlantic storms that hit our beautiful low country from time to time swept through Drayton. Thankfully, this one remained a tropical storm and did not strike us with the full force of a hurricane as did Hugo in 1989. I could tell you some stories about that. We were safe and dry at the home this time, but some of Drayton's citizens were not so lucky. A number of homes were extensively damaged and people had to seek shelter in the activities building of one of the local churches. How well we remember our single night of inconvenience last summer when we were evacuated because of the tanker truck crash. One of the majestic old live oaks downtown succumbed to the force of the winds, slightly damaging the elementary school. And not too far away, it was severely battered. There are already plans, spearheaded by the local JCs, I believe, for a community campaign to help those in need and to restore the park. Retta and Sydney Metcalf sent out a notice today that the number of Meals on Wheels recipients were affected. I feel a mobilization coming on among the caring people here. Really, I do feel fortunate to be surrounded by such wonderful neighbors. We have our share of characters who can try men's and women's souls, but Fair Acres is blessed with many willing hands and generous hearts. Thank goodness Sydney and Retta's cruise took place a few weeks ago and was free of stormy weather. November the 3rd. I went to check on Luli today and found Arthur there by her bed, holding her hand like a son. She looks frail now, but she was beaming on Arthur like a proud mother. But your house, she was saying, how did it fare in the storm? Kudzu Cottage came through just fine, he said. Lost a few shingles over the porch, and I've already replaced them. Oh? There were 3 baskets in the backyard that the boys put vegetables in when they were picking. Artie found 2 of them 2 blocks away, perched up in a tree, not even damaged. Imagine that. There was a lot of wind in that storm. I'll bet he was proud of himself, said Luli. Yes, ma'am, said Arthur. Then he and I went to check on Mr. Stringfellow's little house. You know, I keep an eye on it since he's been in the hospital down in Charleston, he added. A big limb was across the front steps to hit the porch, but Artie and I got that cleaned up and there was no other damage. Mr. Ben Stringfellow is the nice man who used to come out to sing for us and play his guitar. I knew that the old gentleman's health had gone down a lot this year. He'd been receiving treatment at the local VA hospital. I hate to tell you, said Arthur, but I don't really think he's going to be able to come back and live all by himself. That was sad news. We all liked the dear, good-natured man who knew and sang the best old songs. I'll tell you what I'll do, Arthur. I'll write a letter to Mr. Stringfellow, and I'll get a lot of our people to sign it. Perhaps Artie and the children can add some get-well drawings, and we'll send him everything. That's a great idea, Arthur said. And I'll bet Miss Corey would make her some of those delicious tea cakes. Arthur and I left together, and as we walked out of the health center, we talked about Luli. Although her mind has not been terribly affected by the stroke, it has become obvious that she is not doing that well yet. November the 4th. Some of our nicest residents come from the town of Drayton. They're lucky because their friends and relatives can come frequently to see them. Susie Fleming is one of them. Her son Henry came out to have dinner with her and talk about the storm damage. Afterwards, he controlled some of us at the nearby tables, gathering us together. Would you folks give me a minute, he said. He's so pleasant. We would give him an hour. I'm an officer at the JC's, and we're getting ready to put on a variety show and the Drayton Theater on Main Street. We got to raise money to replant the park and help with various other projects. We need more people to volunteer for the show. I'll bet there's a lot of talent out there. I wonder if we could count on you people for one or two acts in the variety show. There was a quiet for a while. We looked at each other. Finally, Bill Nixon, bless his heart, he always comes through, said maybe we could get a kitchen band. You know, one of those with washboards, kettles, kazoos, and other crazy instruments. The noise is horrible, but it's a lot of fun. I was in one once. That sounds perfect, cried Henry Fleming. We haven't had one here. The folks would love it. Would you organize that, Mr. Nixon? Bill looked around. Will you all help me? We all said that we would. Paul said, I'll make a fool of myself for you, Bill, and for the JCs. I'll be a band member, but I'm sitting here wondering where in the world we're going to find a washboard in this day and time. And a metal thimble to strum with it? November the 7th. We started right away gathering materials for the band. Some of them were easy to find. A cluster of measuring spoons to rattle, a frying pan to hit with a big spoon, an old banjo, even a big jug. But as Paul predicted, we were defeated when it came to finding a washboard. We rummaged through all the hardware stores in the vicinity to no avail. Most of the clerks didn't even know what a washboard looked like. Not only that, we're also stymied when we tried to locate a metal thimble. We were told in order to get the most agonizing sound from a washboard, it must be played by the strumming its metal face with a metal thimble. Alas, we found that few thimbles are in the public today. They don't make them anymore. Some of the ladies at home had a treasured gold or a silver thimble that belonged to a beloved great-grandmother. But they do not care to have it scraped against a washboard, knowing that ours would not be a real kitchen band without the missing ingredients. Cora and I decided today, nothing else much to do, goodness knows. So we went to scour the countryside. Cora's lucky to still have her wheels. She said her car battery needed charging, so off we set, taking a country road toward Monk's Corner. We had no luck at our first several stops. Either nobody was at home, or the inhabitant just laughed and shook a head at us when we revealed the object of our search. Eventually we had a piece of luck. An attractive young couple who were renovating a farmhouse told us about their nearby neighbors who still have a barn on their property. The barn has been a catch-all for many old farming implements and such things. Following their directions, we came to a small house that had a large barn down a second road a good way from the house. Cora looked at me, and I nodded. We took the second road, parked on the side of the barn, away from the house, and got out. I peeked into the old building through a crack. Cora, you won't believe it, I whispered. There's one hanging on the wall, on a nail, a washboard. You would have thought we had found a diamond bracelet. Grinning like two mischievous little girls, we retraced our path and headed towards the house. A nice-looking woman in a large apron answered our knock. We told her we wanted to buy a washboard. She looked puzzled. Do you use it anymore, I said. No, I have a washing machine now. I've forgotten that old thing was still hanging out there. Would you please sell it to us? She looked uncertain. We'll give you $10 for it, I said, wanting to offer the woman a fair price. Her eyebrows went up in astonishment. I had an idea. You could give her the money to your church, maybe. Her frown disappeared. Yes, I can do that. I explained our involvement in the kitchen band for the JC's program, and then I had another brainstorm. Would you happen to have a thimble we could buy? A thimble? Well, yes, I got two of them, Minnie and Mama's. Would you sell one to me for $10? Well, Mama's is silver, and I wouldn't want to part with it away, because it's special to me. Mine came from a dime store. I expect it's tin or other such metal. I reckon I really don't have need of two. She went to the house and found the thimble. Then she went with us to the barn, and we lifted the washboard from the wall. We paid her, thanked her profusely, and drove off, leaving the woman watching our departure with a slightly dazed expression on her face. Kind of wondering, what are we doing? We laughed as we talked about our day of searching. Cora said, "You know something, Hattie? I'll bet I can tell you what takes place around here at least one supper table a night. I'll bet someone we talk to today will say, 'Honey, you wouldn't believe what happened to me today. 2 old ladies came by trying to find a washboard and a thimble. Those poor old souls from that home have to sew up their own clothes, and that's not all. They have to scrub them on a washboard.'" We laughed until Cora nearly ran to the car off the road. We just missed the ditch. We were out $20, but it had been a great day. We returned just in time for supper and proudly presented our treasures to Bill and Nixon. The end of chapter 9.